Please observe so far the various things that we have talked about, and breathe and contemplate. Control versus faith. Faith versus control. The fear of not having what I want, yearn, or desire. The faith that God will provide. Think inside you, oh great God, inside you. May your will be done and not mine. Please make everything for me to be favorable, easy, happy. Now I want you guys to pick something you want. Anything. Okay? Random. And you'll think inside you about permission, ability, and support. I'm gonna write this afterwards, okay? First, God, Almighty One Consciousness, may your will be done and not mine. Please allow me to have what I want, and you use the thing you said you want. Please give me the means to have what I want. Make it easy for me to acquire this experience. And may your will be done, not mine. So be it. Amen. Om Tat Sat. The one you prefer. Breathe. So what we did right there is, regardless if our ego acknowledges our it or not, first, we refer to the divine right. It's a very egocentric interpretation for us as egocentric beings to say, I was born with the divine right of free will. Divine right is whatever is beyond your ego. So forget it. Okay? I have the right to freedom, I have the right to this and that. Divine right. Okay? His will. His right. So that the experience as a whole is done. You give it to God. Divine right. May your will be done and not mine. Now, it seems like permission, but it's not permission. Okay? When I say allow it, I'm not specifically referring to the permission like if a parental authority would say, yes you can, no you can't, yes if you come home by 10 o'clock. No, that's not the kind of permission. Allow, please allow me in the make it possible to happen. So the second step of that prayer, that would be the first step, that would be the second step, is not permit me, it's allow it, make it possible. Okay? Please make it possible for me to state your individualized egocentric wish. Do it, it's okay. Because there's no conflict between what you yearn for and what God might desire for himself in your localized experience. Don't have to separate them. You could be fulfilled in a state of letting go of what you don't have or not, you know? So allow it. Now we go into the personal one. Give me the means, okay? Because I want to have the ability to do it. And if I have the ability, I ignore how to do it, it could be revealed to me. Reveal to me how I can do it. Or give me the ability. Now reveal to me how I can do it. First reflex of the ego, tell me how to do it so I can then do it myself out of control. No, it doesn't work. So just let go of it, give me the ability, and then refer to fate on how it's going to happen anyway. Let go. First thing, you want it to become possible in Dravyamaya, the illusion of substantiality, okay? Or Mahamaya, the world. Then you want the ability to do it. The support, I have 1 or 2 P.
2.
All right. So then you want the support. So now it's possible. I wish for it to be possible. I want you, God, to make it possible. Give me the means so I can locally do what I'm responsible of. Okay. So there is a responsibility here where you have to respond. You have to implicate yourself in the manifestation of what you want. If you want money and you don't go work, well, it's going to be harder. Doesn't mean it can't happen. It's going to be harder. If you discard the normal human means to acquire something, it's not going to happen. Or it could, I don't know, divine intervention. I've seen so cool stuff that was way out of the way it should have happened. But the people to which it happened were ready to do the required effort. So because they were ready to do the required effort, God did not require them to do it, so it happened. If you're not ready to do the required effort, you might have to do it, and even then, it might not happen. Okay, so let go and go to faith and work. Okay? This controlled mind, how I'm gonna negotiate with God to have what I want. Such an arrogant, egocentric attitude we have when we pray. May your will be done. Please allow me to have this experience. Give me the means, the abilities to have it, and help me. Support me in the process. Fifth step, causality. Divine right. May your will be done. You will notice I did not write divine will, but divine right. I'm trying to confuse your intellectual interpretation. May your will be done according to what God does in His own rights as a one single being. Because we have an egocentric tendency to believe in, I am entitled to it. I have the right to that experience. I should have it. Okay? So we refer to God. May your will be done. So you have, there's the divine will in there, God's will. But it has to do with the attitude of divine right. To stop thinking, I have the right to this experience or not. To stop thinking about permission or no permission. If you deserve it or not. Because you can pray and ask something that you don't deserve and have it, and pray something for which you deserve and not have it. Because frankly, my dear, God doesn't give a shit about the deserving and not deserving. Okay? Has to do to all about faith, how the divine right. And the divine right is completely different than your interpretation of what you're right, what you're entitled to. The right or not right. The permission, the deserving, the value. Am I worth that? This entire worth thing is so inappropriate. Like if a component of God would be worth something more than another component of God. And we're just God stuff. Okay? We're made of divine essence anyway. And the work has to do with this fate control thing. So if you want to manifest, turn your back to a small child and play and run away. Child runs after you. If you go and you run after a child, now he flees away. And then when you turn your back and then he starts to run after you again. Turn your back on what you want. It's gonna want you. Well, that's a nice metaphor, but I have to agree every metaphor has its flaw. If you turn your back on what you want, you might not have it. So forget a metaphor, okay? Just use it in a way that what you accepted of letting go of and given to the will of God, He will know what is right or not. And what is appropriate for you will be decided at a higher level than your ego. For so everything you can't perceive with your senses and your mind, you have to have faith and intuition and consciousness, and go and see at your ego in a way that you can't really perceive with your senses and your mind. And there's no way you're ever going to understand life the way that the ego wants to understand life. The solution to understanding the mystery of life is to stop wanting to understand it as an ego. Then the holy revelation comes and you have no more questions about the sense of life. The solution to the question, why are we here? What's the sense of life? The solution is not to answer the question, is to be healed from the sickness that makes us ask the question. Think about it. Every existential issue we have, trying to understand why we're here, what we're doing, the solution, the key to having the answer is to stop having the need for that answer. Go to the point where the question becomes inappropriate. Then the sense of life will really come in a way that the human ego can understand the sense of life. Okay? We had a little prayer time. Okay? If you want something, give it to God. Then do what you have to do to acquire it. And sometimes there's no means, there's no apparent way to do it, and you can't do anything, so don't. And it might just happen. Just might be harder if there's no means for you to acquire something or go through an experience. But if you have faith, your experience will happen not how you want it. Not in a sense of control. Stuff will happen in a beautiful way. And it will be the doom of us all that the moment that we think that stuff is happening in our way, we won't be satisfied because it didn't happen our way, so we'll screw it up. Well, one thing at a time. One teaching at a time. Look at the machine. You know, the machine I've been speaking about, components inside us that are so subtle that it's hard to see, but we still have these reactions at the level of ego. Okay. Now something that is not too cool to talk about, but it's essential. The comfort zone. Your comfort zone is a place from which you observe, and since you're not challenged, you like to be in that point of view. And we always try to understand the whole of the universe from a point of view that is comfortable, because we prefer being comfortable than not. So I'm going to take a recent example. I was teaching a meditation to someone saying this thing, and this thing is a single experience contemplated. And it made no sense because it was too heavy for the mind. So she said, I contemplate the first two because they make sense. And it's easier for me. Result is, it gave results, but it slowed down the entire experience. And I said, well, you're staying in your comfort zone, taking the two first components of that meditation, not the third one, into accord. Because that meditation is meant to bring three things in conflict in your ego and start to see it from the Buddha state, because you can't perceive this from the human state, so that's why we do that meditation. But it brings you out of your comfort zone. Can you understand this? So when I tell you, do the integration that way, try this way, and it really hurts, and you kind of find a way to integrate that you like more, better, and you say, well, it works. Of course it works, but do you know about the results? If you would have done it the chef's way, you know. Because you can cook. I'm going to tell you the cooking metaphor that also has its flaws, but bear with me. If you're taught how to cook a cake in a certain fashion, but you hate to go and get a certain ingredient because everything you can have around, but one of those ingredients you have to go away, so you take a substitute instead, then you say, well, it works, but the cake is not as good as how the chef promised you it would be, and you're still missing something. Okay? Now the flaw of that metaphor is that when you come to me, I say, do what you prefer. To start with. Because if your ego doesn't get a kick out of this evolution, he won't participate. So very early you need to do the stuff that you prefer, the stuff that you want, because it really gets you into that. Well, there are exceptions. There are people I threw in situations they hated right from the start. Well, there are exceptions to all things. Most of the time, we start with this compassionate approach with new students. Do what you prefer. We taught you integration, meditation, Kujien, mantra recitation, prayer, yoga, qigong. Do what you want. Do what you prefer and do it. And then you start to have a kick out of it because your ego feels the benefits. The ego ignores he's going to eventually lose power about all that. And while the ego ignores he's going to lose power, what he doesn't know is when you let go of that power, he's going to have more. Well, bear with me. So there comes a point we have to go beyond our comfort zone and do our spiritual path in a bit harder way than we would have done it. Now, if you go to a master that will say, I tell you do this, this, and that, you have to stick to the plan, and it's very hard, you're going to get that heightened experience. But you do it because you believe the master has an authority on you, which is what required for a while. When you think as the guru or the master as an authority, he said me I have to do it, I really have to do it. Then I have to heal you about the belief I have authority on you, which is also giving me more work, and you too. Because I want to get to that point where you know, I have no authority, I don't want to tell you how to meditate, I don't want to give you instructions, I will not punish you if you don't do what I told you, because I really don't care. I'm telling you, if you take it the harder way, the one that challenges you, it will be so much quicker, like tenfold, 100-fold. It's dramatically more powerful when you accept to do it out of your comfort zone. So those who have strong will, like this morning, I found someone as a target of my teachings. I needed someone to just go and bitch, you know, and see in everyone's reaction. I needed to start with that. That wasn't filmed. Yeah, no, it wasn't. At some point, I have to take someone to challenge, pull someone out of their comfort zone, so that everything else can be efficient. Now, if you could become responsible of your evolution and have the willpower to push yourself beyond your comfort zone, not to the point that it hurts, to the point that it is slightly uncomfortable. If it starts to hurt, you're pushing too much. Slow down, come closer to your comfort zone, or take a break entirely in your comfort zone. Stay there, enjoy life. You need to enjoy life wonderfully, and sometimes go out of your comfort zone, doing any practice. So, even our evolution, our ego tries to apply the techniques that we teach spiritually with control. I prefer doing it that way. I prefer doing it that way. During the 9-week initiation, where I was teaching to do Kujien, avatar process, and city, there are some people who told me, I am so not interested in this avatar thing. Can I just forget about it? I said, yeah, of course. Now, if it was a newbie, for example, of course, you don't have to. You get the wisdom, do what you prefer. And there's another person saying, I mean, for me, the Kujien, I've been doing this like for 3 years. Maha, can I just forget it? And I said, you know how much free will I want you to have. You understand this. If you do the Kujien, you'll have more willpower. Do something again that you find boring because you've been doing it for many years, even though it's Kujien that brought the student to the setup. You know, this guy, after so many years, didn't want to do it anymore. He found city so high. And I really encourage this person, do the 3 steps like it is taught to you, even if you don't really like it. Because it works that way, in a more powerful way. And because of that, this person really got it. Because he had the willpower to do it. Regardless, I was not imposing. I explained to him, these are your options. If you do it, this will happen. If you don't do it, that will happen. Now you're free, because with me, you're free. So the fact that he decided by his own will, I'm going to do it even though the master wouldn't mind if I don't. Not only did he have the experience I was cooking for all the students, but he also developed willpower. Because he decided to push himself beyond his own zone of comfort, develop divine level of power. Because he vanquished his ego, who wanted the comfort zone, the preference zone, the things that still makes him feel happy about his spirituality. Okay? Look at yourself inside. Do you do spirituality because it's fun? If this is your reason, you'll drop. Do you do spirituality and spiritual practice because you have a fundamental sense of existence you couldn't have otherwise? Well, that will motivate you. If you always do what is only entertaining, you're evolving in a state of control. Oof. So I say, do it both ways. Try to do something that you like doing and something you don't especially like doing. Something that you know will bring result but you find boring, do that. A few minutes. Take one thing that you're not excited about your spiritual practice and do something that you know delivers results. Now, don't do something that you find useless because it really is useless, that doesn't really bring you anything, that you're way beyond that. You know, if you've charted the 5 basic elements and there apparently is no use for you for the 5 basic elements, you can stop doing them. But if there's still a use, but you don't feel like doing them again, you've been doing the 5 basic elements for like a few months now, maybe a year, and I tell you, I feel in your situation, you should be doing the 5 basic elements again, at least 1 mala of each. Just like it takes 10 minutes. If it can still bring you something, regardless if it is entertaining or not, do it. Okay, the comfort zone. You understand this comfort zone? You're always out of it anyway. So, cool. This guy will go from 1 hour of practice to 5 hours of practice per day. Vary. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it doesn't feel like it. And so it really hurt my back when I was like at the 3rd hour of that mudra. You know, and he still did it. Because that's how he pulled himself out of being a, you know, the in mental institution style to seeing divine everywhere style. You know, that it's really a shift of consciousness. Whoever knew Brian 2 years ago said, oh, I mean, this guy, I'm going to stay in my comfort zone. And we just went like this, you know. And everyone now, the comfort zone is close to him. We want it. Okay? I need to mention this. I want to mention this. When someone does a realization, you think I'm nursing his ego? Maybe. I'm giving an example because he's there. And he went from being attacked by rage inside to wanting to love everyone as equal as God. Okay? Now, did this happen in a fun way? You think he always had fun? No way. Every one of you, you went out of your comfort zone, and you know, sometimes people ask me, Maha, I want to evolve so fast, do whatever you want. And I suggest them to go out of their comfort zone and they stay there, and the evolution is very slow. I'll go, hey, look there, and say, and what? Push you out of comfort zone. You go, ah, I'm falling. Like you're falling about at this speed, and you think you're going 100 miles an hour. I'm gonna hit the ground. You just go, very gently. But your perception, your senses tell you it's more speed that I'm used when I was just fixed. You know, and you gotta dramatize everything. It's out of your comfort zone, and you're afraid because you have no more control. And whoever teaches here, at some point, you know, you're gonna be a Dharma manager, and you're gonna push one of your students out of their comfort zone. And mostly, I push you out of your comfort zone by speaking. I'm here, I speak. If it affects you, it means you have something to resolve. Like this wonderful woman, I like to take Asun because she's really freed from the shame. I say, when I said, Asun, you have such a big fucking ass. Can't believe it. You're like a truck, you know? And really, yeah, in front of everyone. And like half of the people there were her student. And they were angry at me. But she used that and healed and came to me, Maha, thank you so much. I spent an hour fixing the shame I had never before been able to access because it hadn't been triggered. I pushed her out of her comfort zone, and thanks to that today she enlightened. You know? So we have to take the things one step at a time. You know what, Sun? Some of you guys, you know her. And she went from this control freak pretending to be holy to this faithful being. She really is holy and still have all her issues and abandonment and everything, but she will go out of her comfort zone on her own will now. She goes there. I'm using examples of people who've done it so it can inspire you. Whenever I say, I went out of my comfort zone, of course, you're this, you're that. No, don't worry. I had to go by my own will out of my comfort zone. And my comfort zone is what I understand, what I see. So the first thing that is out of your comfort zone is to do integration beyond the scope of what you perceive of yourself. That's the first comfort zone to vanquish. And at first it's going to take you exhaustive observation. What is exhaustive observation? Integration is you do stuff and every minute there's something coming up. You know, you have an emotion, 1 to 5 minutes later you have an eco reaction, 1 to 5 minutes later you have stuff going on. Exhaustive observation is you take a single pattern and you stay fixed in there for an hour. Stay fixed in a single thing for an hour? Ah, I can't do that. Of course you can. You're simply not comfortable doing it. Because, let's say you do fixity. Some people here do fixity. Fixity, you just fix a point and you let go. And you let your mind go crazy and you try to just bring it down without effort. Just slowly get it down. In other seminars I taught about fixity, so I won't extend on that. But some people, after 5 minutes, they go so crazy because it's uncomfortable to do fixity the first few hundred times. The first few times, I mean, okay? But after, I don't know, a year, who can do fixity here? You know, stop thinking, yeah, you can do it, yeah, you got, of course, thank you. He goes, well, whatever. Fixity is always out of your comfort zone. You can't have a fixity which is in your comfort zone. It's impossible. Until you get to the point that there is no more in comfort, but it's still not your comfort zone. You just don't give a shit anymore because you get out of space-time reference. You think my first fixity were fun? When you do fixity, stuff rises. And you have to stop doing fixity to just integrate what rises when you do fixity. And then you have fixity and you're just enraged because fixity is not entertaining, like not at all. So I had to look at my ego that wants to be entertained. So my comfort zone was doing stuff that entertained me. So I integrated my control and my feeling of abandonment and capricious, egocentric wish to always be stimulated with new awareness and consciousness and supernatural ability. Just going into fixity and nothing. Integrate what prevents you from doing the fixity and integrate what prevents you from doing the exhaustive observation. Look at what reacts inside you, because when you do exhaustive observation, you're not entertained. You don't have supernatural realization. Takes a long time, but you're taking all that time so that you'll be able to manifest more time, so you can do even more and hopefully ensure your realization. Okay? The comfort zone is control. It's insatisfaction. It is our arrogant nature of wanting everything to always be how we want it. And as you let go, as you face the suffering, the childish arguing to the real traumas, as you let go and transcend the suffering, as you forgive yourself and others, as you go into the state of forgiveness, as you go in the state of compassion, and do the work how it is the most efficient, it will bring you more pleasure than the pleasure you were afraid to leave when going out of your zone of control. You'll have more fun, more bliss, more power than the equivalent fun you hoped to keep when you were in your comfort zone in a state of control. Okay? Faith, even in your spiritual practice. Little motivation speech today about control versus faith. Okay? We're made of a very complex machine that is originally built to resist the truth, and we have to go out of the comfort of our system, and we'll be afraid to lose our density, our identity, and maybe it's not the divine will or the divine right or the divine plan for us to have a specific experience. Let go. If you let go of an experience you really want to have, maybe you won't have this experience. You'll have another, and you'll see from the supernatural point of view, wow, thank you, my Lord, that I let go of that thing, because I would ignore that other thing would have come, which is even greater for me. But pray anyway, like we did on the next page. Pray anyway. May your will be done. Make it possible. Please allow it. Make it possible. Give me the tools and help me so the ride goes smoothly, and may your will be done. So be it. Free your mind from the idea that the will of God cannot be yours. It never is, actually, but sometimes it just makes that everything is in perfect place for what you wish for to happen. There's no divine punisher as much as there's no divine savior. There's no God that will save you from your sins. It's a complete misperception. There's no God that will punish you either. Okay? There's just the way that things go, and the more you have control, the more you have limited egocentric pleasures and lots of egocentric suffering. And because you want to hang on to these pleasures, you suffer even more. Then you let go, you work on yourself, you do a spiritual path, and you go into that state where stuff starts to happen to you that is so cool. And you accept whatever happens, and don't complain about the job that is not that entertaining, because it's not in your comfort zone, because you've experienced eating lots of popcorn, watching a movie, and say, I so enjoy looking at a movie while eating popcorn. Why can't I feel that fun while I'm handling paperwork at the job? Go out of your comfort zone. We have to live. We're in a world where stuff happens, and the stuff happens. Okay. Even when God starts sending us what we want, sometimes we start to have multiple options, and we complain even more. We want the most favorable options of all of them. And once we have this, we wish for a better one, and we stay in argument. When we have multiple choices, when stuff is possible, we argue with God in faith. We argue to the multiple wonderful things that happen Because we want, well, if there's many options, I want the one that I really prefer. You know, so not only are we sometimes faced with 5 choices that are all in our comfort and pleasure zone, and there we'll refine and go for the best one that God did not allow, so we discard the 4 others that would have been wonderful, and we complain again. Because we want it to be always more, 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 more. Arrogance, egocentrism. Always complaining. Okay? That control is a sickness. And if you have multiple choices, and there's something that you enjoy, you take it, and you say, thank God, and just let go. At one point, you'll have the most favorable thing, the most wonderful experience, the most pleasurable experience as a human in flesh. Because whatever you do, make sure you enjoy creation as much as God when He created it. And enjoy your human existence. That means stop complaining about the possible suffering of having that human experience. I might suffer, I'm afraid to go into pain. Well, stop controlling. If there is suffering, let me learn about it. I have something to resolve. But be compassionate. Don't be so stupid. Just throw yourself in the most awful situation, because if I suffer, I just have to look at it. And then if you try for always the most difficult situation, you could have had a better way, but you choose a worse way out of, I'll go out of my comfort zone. That's lack of self-love. Because you could have a better way, more fun. So that really is screwing you about the comfort zone thing. Well, should I do it or not? Do I have to go out of that comfort zone? I don't know. Are you still in a state of self-love? Are you giving something that will grow you as a whole? As God, as a human, as an avatar that enjoys manifestation, as a soul that evolves? What is the global picture? There's so much to evaluate. I can't possibly understand. Exactly. Stop thinking. Go with faith. Let go of control. Enjoy life. Stop complaining. Don't be so stupid to throw you in a bad situation, but however, if it's beneficial, have the courage to face it and do it. And again you go, well, what will make me decide? Stop controlling. You'll feel it at one point. You'll know. You see, the human will not develop a system that will allow him to know what is God's plan. Because the human has the flawed thinking that God has a plan. Okay? Must I repeat that? The human cannot possibly know what is God's plan because he is sick with the false perception that God actually has a plan. God is doing research and development. And you're that God doing the research and development, and you're the guinea pig going through the experiment, and you're the very substance and being poured in the food of the guinea pig doing the experiment. You're all that. Okay? So, what should I do? What can I do? Go from where you are, stop being guilty from asking stuff to God, but let go of your expectation of having it, and see what happens. At one point, everything will work out perfectly. Fine. That's so difficult because we need to think as humans, and that's our doom. Now, if you stop thinking as human, you'll suffer. Okay, so continue doing that. I can play at this so long because the mind, is so. I need to understand. Here you go. Understanding is a cause of suffering. Oh, so I should stop understanding. No, you're stupid. You have to understand stuff or else you'll suffer. Well, what's the rule? Have faith, let go. There's no way for you to understand the pure nature of what is divine right. Divine right has nothing to do with right. Has nothing to do with God's will. This is what God wanted. May your will be done and not ours. We need to say this because we're human. We still believe there's a divine will. And when I pray from a human point of view, I do pray, please, my God, may your will be done. Allow Absagni to have her piano the way she wants it. Makes it possible, and please support the experience for it to happen, but may your will be done. Amen. And I did pray for someone else about 5 times since I learned she wants a specific piano. So let's do it. Because when she is fulfilled, I'm fulfilled. When you are fulfilled, I'm fulfilled. I experience this. I do this with my children. Oh yeah, when I thought about prayer, who of you thought about asking anything for someone else? Okay, thank you. I see few people raise their hands. Now is there guilt? Read. If you have guilt about not being charitable, you still have stuff to do because it's so wonderful to have something for yourself. Ah, I just had a little attitude here to make you know that you might have felt guilty to ask something for yourself if I suggested you should be charitable. So solution is not to ask only things for others. That's, you know, when you pray it has to be for others, or else it's egocentric. No, that's false humility. If you don't pray for yourself, it's lack of self-love. If you pray only for yourself, you're egocentric. Think between the cogs of the machine. Think in between the lines, the workings, the wires and the bolts that make you. There's nothing wrong for asking something yourself, but I suggest that you should be conscious of what is the true art of prayer. And the less individualized and the less localized it is, the more powerful it is because you let go of control. Out of your ego's control, faith can move mountains. I mean, it can teleport sweatshirts, okay? So imagine mountains. Yeah, it works. A bit. I enjoy giving a speech of that nature because I know your intellect is trying to understand something that is very difficult to understand, and you should continue to do this. I encourage you, keep trying to intellectually understand the letting go of that need to understand, and it's okay. It's a Zen experience. Eventually you'll be able to be freed of the natural human concepts of control, even at the level of your head. And if with this speech that I just gave, using prayer as a pretext to your entire comfort zone thing, if you succeed at understanding this at the emotional and mental level, then you'll know how to do this at your genetic, physical, and spiritual animic level. Okay? That's why I teach all that. That troubles the human mind in this way of seeing, so that you can understand something that cannot be understood, or at least something that is not logical, because you'll understand it from the 6th plane of wisdom, and then bring it into your human experience, and you'll have faith. Faith is not giving your power to God. That's a misunderstanding of faith. And faith is not letting go of control. But one thing at a time. You should let go of control, by the way. Okay, one thing at a time. You guys need a break. You need to look at this in your mind. It's a philosophy of how you create. But how could you possibly create if you're not a creator? Then again, you are the creator. To create, you have to remember that through experience. Then you go in creator state and you create. But whatever you create will be from your egocentric or personal wanting, yearn. Therefore, you'll be egocentric and not God, so you won't manifest. Fuck, I'm screwed. There's no way out. Well, for the mind, there's no way out. When you perceive from the point of view of oneness, you can have whatever you want, and it doesn't really matter, but we'll have it anyway because we have faith. Okay? So work on yourself to look at all this ego structure, one thing at a time. Now, I went very far in a very Zen, deconstructed way for a few of my advanced students that just follow the entire speech, no problem. But take one thing at a time. Wherever in my speech just lost you, one thing at a time. At one point you'll know the divine state of being is not a way that the human can modulate. You can't falsify this. You can't theatrically imagine that you're God. It's impossible. You fall in between two masks and poof, vacuity, and you're still here, an avatar. Okay? God bless you. take 10 minutes.